Why would you remove the one thing that makes you powerful? Why would you take away the one thing that gives you growth? I mean, it's simply not to sit around and argue that it needs to be reformed. And by the way, I've debated with some of these Muslims who argue for reform, and they're weak willies. They don't have a leg to stand on. They just sort of have some platitudes and a smile. And by the way, I wish them well. Look, I wish it could be reformed. I'd go back to my wood shop where I was working on September 11th, 2001. They bothered me. And so, anyway, I wish it could be reformed. I would much prefer being in the wood shop.
Yeah. With that, let's take our next caller. You're live on ABN. Welcome to the program.
Brother.
Hi, you're live
I
with
really
us.
admire, and this is a fantastic program that you have. I wish every word that you said from this wonderful panel to be written in a book and distributed to the media, to the White House, to everyone, because it is very, very informative and very precise. I agree with every word that was said.
Well,
I would like to add one thing.
Yes.
ABN is not well known to the American or to the West. Nobody listened to ABN. I've been distributing to most of the Americans. I give them your website, and very few go and watch it. Why we don't go and try to get an interviews with the network media like ABC, NBC, and all of this, and if they refuse, then we can go on the paper, in the newspaper, and expose them and say, ABC, NBC refused to take this interview, and they're giving the American people very bad, backward information or ignorant interviews like the one from Diane Sawyer and Oprah. They don't want to hear the truth. They want to be, just leave us sleep, we are comfortable, and things like that.
Yeah.
One last thing, why the Muslims, like when you build a building, you have, according to the code, you have to specify the capacity of that building. If we go in New York City, I think in 42nd Street or somewhere in Manhattan, on the Friday prayers, they literally close the street because the Muslims overflow the mosque and put their carpets or drugs or whatever. Why they have an exception? Everybody must obey the rule. If your building doesn't have the right capacity, don't go another building, but don't block the traffic. And, thank you so much for listening. This is a very wonderful, and I'm going to call after this to find out how to get these books and things like that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for calling and for your encouragement. And we're here, to build awareness. But we need your help. We're doing our part. We're working hard, but it's very difficult to get into the homes of mainstream America simply because we present the truth with very minimum barriers, and that might be considered politically incorrect to many Americans that may not want to hear it because we tend to be comfortable, like you said, in our comfort zones. But we are willing, we are open, and we are interested to get the word out there, not only about this show, but about some of our other English programs that have the same purpose behind them. So if you would like to help, or if you have connections out there, please reach out and then get back with us, and we would love to partner with you to spread the word about ABN. Why don't we take our next call here on ABN? You're live on Jihad Exposed.
Yes.
Welcome. Who do we have on air with us?
Yes. If I have to explain Islam, it's like the east end of the westbound train. They talk with a folk tongue. And the problem I see, in order to maintain peace, Israel would give in and give land. If I have to take you back in 1947, where I'm from, India, in order to maintain peace with Pakistan, they gave 45% of the land. And the 55% that India has got, the indigenous people have been pushed out of that place. They are refugees in their own homeland or living in other countries. Point I'm making here is we give in. Even at our workplaces over here, they go for wuzu, they go for 3 times prayers. And here, being a Christian country, our kids cannot have Lord's Prayer, or they cannot have Christian prayers, or they cannot have all other activities, while these people have free access. Point here is we are complacent. The church is quiet. Even I was afraid that I'm reading Quran these days. Hey, I'm into comparative religion right from my college days. And I'm getting educated, and I'm educating other people. These people are so complacent, and they don't want to educate themselves, and they don't want the Christian. They have their own agenda. Go to the service, say hallelujah, praise the Lord. Okay, I'm not against that. But point is, the people of other faith, all of them have to come together. We are peaceful people. Islam is the only religion which is opposed to all the other. All the other religions are disbelievers. So point I'm making here is they all have to come to the same platform and fight this evil force. Thank you, and I'd like to hear you.
Thank you for calling and for your comment. We appreciate your call. Our lines are still open. You can call 248-416-1300. We have about 30 minutes left on the program. Quick announcement, tomorrow night, join Dr. James White. He will be back on Jesus or Muhammad during our marathon. For all the latest updates and the specific times, you can visit abnsat.com. This might be a rhetorical question, Waleed. Is it permissible in Islam, of course, to swear allegiance to a kafir ruler? And then with that, if you can provide us, either you or Kamal can provide us with a verse from the Quran to support that.
No, you cannot give allegiance to any country that is not Muslim. In fact, this is the issue that Nidal Malik Hassan had contended with. This is also, if you look at the boxer, Muhammad Ali, if you recall, he was called to be drafted into the military, and he refused. This is the same case with the Muslim convert who converted to Islam at UC Davis and threw a grenade in Camp Pennsylvania in Kuwait. He refused to fight against another Muslim brother and chose to kill his American compatriot. And Islam is very clear about not giving allegiance to any except a Muslim country. In fact, I think Al-Ghazali talks about it, a famous Muslim scholar and a commentator on Islam. He talks about not giving allegiance to any Muslim country, and that Muslims also have to go to jihad, ghazawat, or jihad operations at least twice a year. So it's pretty clear from Islam that Muslims are not to be giving allegiance to any or give bay'ah in Islam. Giving bay'ah is allegiance. In fact, people need to look at the bay'ahs in Islam. So giving allegiance is absolutely sacrilege in Islam. Umdat as-Saliq also states, which is a travel guide to the Muslim, that Muslims are not to be loyal to any other country. In fact, they are to kill their children if they convert to the religions of these countries that they move to. We see honor killings galore in Europe and in the US as a result of that. But if I may add also to the comment you stated before, I wanted to interject. You had asked the question is, can Islam be reformed? And the question I like to ask is, what does it mean by reform? Mm-hmm. Can someone reform communism? Can someone reform Nazism? What do we mean by reform? In other words, reform is to basically fix something to its original state. Christian Reformation began when Christians began to look into their Bible and began to adhere to biblical concepts, abandoning worldly concepts that had infiltrated into their system. Islamic democracy is like saying capitalistic communism. It's an oxymoron to say that Islam can be reformed. So reformation of Islam is a farce. It can never be reformed. We can't really have the statement of reformation when it comes to Islam. It's the complete destruction of the system of Islam is what needs to be taking place in order to protect this country from this kind of infiltration.
Kamal, would you like to add real quick?
Yes, I would be glad to. Number one, let me answer on the religion. If anyone practice Islam, and I have practiced Islam, when a Muslim falls on his knees and he falls down to the ground, he is making an allegiance to Allah every time he goes down 5 times a day, and it says inna salati wa nusuki wa mahyaya wa mamati lillahi rabbil alamin la sharika lah wa bizalika umirtuhu wa ana awwal al-muslimin. Therefore, he said, my prayers, my meditation, my life, my death to Allah, the God of this world. He has no son, no spirit. He has no partner, and I have been commended to fulfill everything, even to the point of death. So, therefore, this is the allegiance that the Muslim do. So, when you look at Faisal Shahid, the one who in New York bomber, New York square bomber, when they caught him and the judge put him there, and he said, "Didn't you swear to on the allegiance to uphold and support and protect our Constitution?" He said, "I have lied. I swore to my God and not to your God." So therefore, what happened is when a Muslim is swearing to be an American citizen, which is statistic now shows by the Pew's report, about 70% of American Muslim today, they said we're Muslim first, we're American second. So therefore, when you look at this, he said, we do not adhere to your laws or your bylaws. Our laws and our bylaws come from higher place, from Allah himself. They are not man-made, they are God-made. So therefore, when you bring a human law, so it's already been broken and demolished to Islam. And as far as reformation, when Islam can reform in one area, in deceptive area, in jihad, for example, this is when they reform and they do what's so called instead of they do a truce, they can do instead of the peace treaty, they do what they call it. They do that treaty which is only to be broken. It has 10 years expiration date, but reformation in Islam, it could be done in a political area where it goes from attacking to be moderate or from moderate to be progressive. These are the areas, because in Islam, it's called Al-Harbu Khud'a. Al-Harbu Khud'a, this is the co-founder of CARE, Council American Islamic Relation. His name is Ahmed, and he said, war is deception, which is we are here to deceive this culture. So therefore, when they reform is only to reorchestrate, because what they're doing literally is they're making, what's the peace treaty called, Walid? I forgot the peace treaty that Islam makes.
Hudna.
When Hudna made, it is a deceptive, and this is exactly what it is to reform. They reform for a little bit only to deceive a culture and destroy a culture.
Very good point. Why don't we take our next caller, and then we'll bring it back to Bill. Thank you, Kamal. You're live on ABN. Welcome to the program. Welcome to the show. You're live on ABN. Let's take our next call. You're live on ABN. Welcome to the program. Okay, we must have lost that call. Our lines are 248-416-1300. Let's turn it over to Bill. Bill, did you have any remarks so far with what Walid and Kamal have been talking about? Bill, are you with us?
I find it interesting. I have met both of these gentlemen. We've never discussed extensively anything about the doctrine, and yet tonight we find that we sort of sing all in concert. I don't think that we disagree about anything, which brings me to the point. An earlier caller said that basically we are speaking the truth. When I was young, I thought that the truth by itself would prevail, but it turns out that this is not true. We by our agreement, I'm saying that we do know the truth of Islam. The problem is that those who do not know do not want to hear. I end my talks with this observation. It is not that Islam is so strong, but we are so ignorant, so afraid, so disorganized. We are the problem. Yeah. We find here tonight 3 gentlemen who've all studied Islam. and we all have the same conclusions. What I find when I deal with people who do not agree with my conclusions, when I ask